There's some more pancakes. If anybody wants more pancakes, there are some left available. So dig in.
You are? Yeah. I've been gone for 35 years, 40 years.
We haven't been all together. Hi, good to see you. One real powerful one. Yeah, you legislature for a long time. Good job.
Yeah, there we go. Backpack.
And I had, I'll go through
I'm born ready. You know, one of this,
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're about ready to get started here. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I think before we get started, we'll actually start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So before you get too seated, and the rest of you can stand up. We got a flag there, one there. Go. All right, we'll start here. Ready? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was powerful. Good one, guys. All right, so thank you everybody for coming out. I want to thank Barbara Vignette for reaching out to me, and I'm Steve Jurgens with Northeast Radio SD. We do a little bit of Watertown there. You can find us on Facebook and our website is northeastradiosd.com. We're going to have the District 4 Senator and House of Representatives Legislators Forum. So they'll be up here, but before we get started on that, first we want to thank some fellow legislators that have stopped by. So you guys just want to get a little wave, that would be good. We've got Senator Mike Kohl from District 1 here. We've also got Senator Glenn Billhauer, District 5. We have Representative Roger DeGroot, Brookings. And we also have Byron Calise from District 5. Thank you. And we got some former legislators. We got Bert Tolson as well. There we go. And Doug Bierspach as well. All right, thank you. And then also to mention, there's a silent option over here as well. If you want to sign up for that, you can take a look at that over there. And then on everyone's tables, there are colored index cards. If you have questions that you want to fill out to ask the candidates, you can do that. You can put it in this bowl here, or you can hand it to me, or whatever works. We'll do that. So now let's introduce some folks that are running for the area here. Not everyone's got a contested race, but all right, let's see here. So do we have John Bartel here? You know that? Or Tiffany Stormo? Okay, clear that up. Isaac Sauder, would you like to come up and talk for just a couple of minutes? Introduce yourself, and if you guys will stand in this area right here, the camera will see you.
For those of you that don't know, I'm Isaac Sauder. I'm running for Hamilton County Sheriff. I have, just over 11 years in law enforcement experience. I've spent the majority of my time working in Indian country on reservations, mainly dealing with federal politics, as a lot of you have become accustomed to know. I'm a lifelong resident of Hamilton County. I sincerely enjoy this county, and like I've told people, if I am going to have an opinion of how things are run and handled, I better be able to have a solution to fix those issues. So I will keep this short and sweet because we've got a full day ahead of us, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk, and if you like talking to me afterwards, by all means come up. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so he's got a contested race with Chad Schlotterbeck, but I don't believe he is in the crowd. So we'll move on to his big partner here. Okay. Kirk Howe. All right. Oh, you microphone there.
Hello, my name's Kirk Howe. I'm running for precinct committeeman for precinct 21. That's if you vote in the Castlewood Fire Hall, that would be me. And I'm here to fight for your rights. A lot of people might know me as the guy that's passing around petitions all the time for property rights or gun or personal rights or election integrity. And so I'm not going around with a petition today, so don't be scared. Anyway, vote for me on June 2nd for precinct 21. Thank you, Kirk Howe.
Thank you. All right, we got precinct committeeman 22. Bill, can you have that here? All right, that's you. Bill, thank you.
I'm Bill McGad. I'm running for precinct 22 chairperson. And I'm a hardcore Republican. I vote for Reagan twice. Voted for Trump 3 times. My main job is to get out the vote and sponsor events like this. Thanks.
Okay, we got Todd C. Middlebrook Jr.
Yep.
All right.
Hi all, my name is TJ. I live over in Hazel. I am also running for committeeman in precinct 22. If you want to learn more about what a committee person is, what they're supposed to do, and why I'm the man for the job, and a bit about how to register to vote if you're not registered to vote yet, pick up one of these, take it with you, and that's all. We'll get this on the road.
All right. Now we'll take a look at Secretary of State candidate. We've got Heather Baxter here with us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the delicious food that was provided and for taking the time to set this up. And thank you to all of you that showed up today, because I'm sure you probably had 20 other things you'd maybe rather be doing than coming here. So thank you for coming. I'm Heather Baxter, and I'm running to be your next Secretary of State. Just a little bit about me, because most of you I don't know. I'm originally from Custer, and most of my family still lives there. My mom's a retired special education teacher. My dad is a pastor. So it comes natural for me to let you all know that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. My grandfather was Korchak Shulkovsky, and he started Crazy Horse Memorial in 1948. Two of my brothers currently still work on top of the mountain, carrying on the work for our grandfather. He had dreams for the Native American people. I currently live in Rapid City, and I have the privilege of being a public servant for District 34 in the House. I'm running for Secretary of State because I believe that together we can restore government as it should exist, to serve and not rule. Like our state motto says, under God the people rule. Together we can return the power to the people, constitutional order and common sense, because government should reflect your will, not burden you with confusion and bureaucracy. This campaign will champion for election integrity rooted in citizen oversight and civic engagement, empower our small businesses, work with our legislators to reduce fees and regulations, modernization of the website so that it has simplified public access. So you can go on your phone and easily pull it up on the phone and have it work and be compatible for the phone format. Work with our auditors in all 66 counties to bring forth consistency and efficiencies, as well as 5-star communication with them and our general public. Our founding fathers gave us a constitutional republic where we, the people, would and should control government. Our South Dakota and U.S. Constitution, as well as our South Dakota Republican platform, are very clear. Limited government is essential, and the power does belong to the people. I'm committed to bold leadership with integrity. Sorry, I just slipped my mind what else I want to say. Transparency and accountability. And I see I have 30 seconds left, so I just want to thank any of the veterans that are in the room today and the first responders. I appreciate your service. May God bless you, our great state in America.
Thank you. Okay, we've also got another guest with us here running for U.S. Senate. We've got candidate Justin McNeil with us as well. If you could come up and talk with you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to start using my 2 minutes while I'm walking up.
We won't start.
So I like to start out these events by first, thanking everyone that's in this room. I truly believe that we get better government when we, the people, are involved in that government. So you guys all being here, taking an active role in that government, making an informed decision about all the different candidates that are up here is important, and I truly appreciate it. So a little bit about me. My name is Justin McNeil, and I am running for the United States Senate. The Navy trained me to be a nuclear engineer on submarines. So I was stationed on a submarine out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Spent 6 years in the Navy, 4.5 years out at sea, 3.5 years of which, I can't talk this morning, it's been a long day. We spent underwater with no sunlight. So believe it or not, if you catch me outside in the dark, I do not glow in the dark. After the Navy, I needed a job. Me and 2 guys in a small little office, maybe the size of this table, started a financial services company. We grew that to 6 offices in 4 states. And then most recently, I built a business called Dakota Biochar. We're focused on solving 2 problems. One is the wastewood accumulation in the Black Hills National Forest. And 2 is creating this product called biochar to heal unproductive farmland all across the state of South Dakota. So we're taking waste streams, generating power, and then solving unhealthy, I cannot talk today, it's really killing me, and solving unhealthy farmland. So somebody was kind of picking on me yesterday. They said, Justin, you went from the most sophisticated way of generating power, nuclear power, to the most primitive, burning wood. So anyway, but, and then my why. So why am I running for the United States Senate? My why is the same it was 2 years ago when I first started looking to get into politics. People were like, Justin, you got a really nice life. Why would you ever get out of that and go into politics? And my answer to that is because I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the federal debt. 2 years ago, that debt was at 35 trillion. Now that debt stands at 39 trillion. The closer and closer we get to the fewer and fewer options that we're going to have, I'm excited about the opportunity and the ability to start working that problem. And with your blessing, I'm ready to get to work. Thank you for your time. I'll be here to answer any questions.
All right, well, I think we'll get started with the forum now. So these are your District 4 candidates, and we'll do introductions. Everybody will have a 2-minute introduction, and then we'll start with the questions. Everybody will have 2 minutes to answer a question. If there is a rebuttal that's necessary or they raise their hand, we'll do a minute that we decided on that, rebuttal, and then we'll move on from there. So maybe we'll just start with Mr. Deutsch since he's here. You guys can come up to the microphone and do your introductions if you want, but it only kind of reaches so far. So when we get to the answering question, you can come up and talk if you want to answer, or just loud and clear for all to hear. So it's up to you. You good?
Can you all hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Fred Deutsch. I'm a common sense conservative Republican. I'm a Christian, devoted husband, father, and grandfather of 11. I'm a retired chiropractor with 40 years of healthcare experience, small business owner. I served on the Watertown School Board, was Watertown School Board president for 8 years. I've been in the legislature also for 8 years. I have 19 bills that have been signed into law and 100% pro-life voting record. I fought for lower property taxes. I fought for stronger schools, for rural health care, for workforce development, and of course for your constitutional rights. And thank God I've won those fights. I'm running again because I don't know if you followed Peer too closely this last couple of years, but it's not a very nice place like it used to be. It's more like Washington, D.C., and I think we want people there who can roll up their sleeves and get the work done for the people, and that's what I intend to do. My campaign is about putting you first, the people, and I guess I hope, even though if you don't know me, I hope you know enough about me that I understand that you're the boss. You're the boss, the people, and so I respect that. My campaign will always go forward in doing the will of the people. So I'm here to earn your vote. I'm really grateful for everybody here. And I ask for the privilege of being your voice once again in Peer with the election coming up on June 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And if anybody's wondering, the live stream's working, so that's what the audio was. Pardon me. We got Kent Rowe, current representative. Thank you. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. I recognize almost 99% of the people in the building here today. And I was thinking as I walked in that end or that end, I couldn't remember which. Grew up here in Hamlin County. I am the incumbent District 4 representative for Hamlin, Clark, Eastern Clark, most of Connington County, Dual County, Grant County, and a little bit of Roberts up there on the reservation line. My wife Melissa is here today helping with the program. Thanks. The pancakes were delicious. Anyways, I built and ran and sold and lost a few businesses along the way. Moved to Wisconsin. I lived in Minneapolis and then moved into Wisconsin. So I have experience under those types of government structures. We moved back here in 2007. 14 years we ran a couple different trucking companies. In 2020, we got out of the trucking industry. I'm an appraiser now. Melissa's also an appraiser. So we see every day what folks are dealing with out here financially on their mortgages and different financial issues that they're dealing with. I've got 2 grown kids, 5 grandkids. Those little guys, they remind me every day why I serve, and that's to keep South Dakota the way we like it for not just my grandkids, but your kids and your grandkids as well. I don't think we've got any FFAers in here, but I've mentioned this a couple times in the last week. The state FFA convention was in Brookings last week, and between Willow Lake High School and the Clark High School, they had 14 star farmers. That's a big deal. So kudos to any school teachers in the room here. And it's important that we keep working with our public schools, keeping them going. Am I up there, Bill?
You got
All
a
right.
call.
I'm Kent Rowe, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got up next is Dylan Jordan. He's current representative. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for hosting this. This is the first campaign event I've ever done on a Sunday. And I just want to give a shout out to Grace Lutheran Church. I wasn't able to make it. They had 7 kids getting confirmed today. So I just want to give a shout out to them. I'm Representative Dylan Jordan. It's been an honor to represent you as your constitutional conservative for District 4 in the House. I'm pro-life, pro-family, pro-first, second amendment, pro-property rights, and pro-freedom mostly. A lot of people will get up here and tell you that they're a conservative, but the root word of conservative is conserve, and most people just want to conserve the system. That's why I say I'm a constitutional conservative. So if you want to conserve our founding documents and have someone who votes based on the party platform, I'm your guy. Thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to the debate.
Thank you. We've got up next is candidate Gary Hudiburgh.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I've got to stand. I've been doing this for a while. My name is Gary Hudiburgh, and I just want to talk for a moment about complacency. We had an attempt on the life of the President of the United States last night. We think about what that means, what complacency is, what complacency does for this. My name is Gary Hudiburgh. I moved to South Dakota 5 years ago, lived all over this country. I've traveled across this country. I've worked in nuclear power plants. I've worked in meat plants. I've worked in our ethanol plants, different facilities. And I have to tell you, every time before we had a job brief, we talked about complacency. South Dakota is a special place. There is tremendous work that's been done. The people in this room are who have made this state what it is, who are carrying the state forward. Do not be complacent. When we think about our mission is to carry forward what it means to be a Republican, what it means to have faith, what it means to cherish family. I've been sober 11 and a half years. I've probably had one of the roughest lives of anybody that's out there. After getting sober, I founded a nonprofit, founded on inspiring excellence through the gospel of Jesus Christ. I've dedicated my life to service. I want to tell you that we have a tremendous opportunity here. We have some great candidates. We have some great opportunities about how we can build this state and how this state can be that beacon on a hill that inspires the rest of this country to understand what's capable when you live to the virtues, the values, and the character of what America stands for. Please vote Gary Hudiburgh.
Thank you. Your next candidate is Ryan Kohl.
Well, since Gary started this, and I don't have Gary's voice to start with, so I'll have to try. I'll use my teacher's voice today. So, my name is Ryan Kohl. I'm going to quick tell you my background and then what I'm running for. So, number one, born and raised on a farm and ranch over by Rebello. I went to Grant Dual School. Once I graduated from Grant Dual School, I went to SDSU. While at SDSU, I joined the National Guard because college is expensive. And then while I was attending SDSU, that's when we had 9/11. And so when I graduated, I actually took my commission in the United States Air Force. And then for the next 9 years, I did what I call my world tour. I went to some great places, and I went to some places that I never, ever want to go back to. After 9 years, I transitioned into the reserves, and I moved back to Rebello, and I started farming and ranching with my dad again. I also went back to SDSU part-time to get my teaching certification. And then I taught at Grant Dual for 2 years. I tell people I did such an amazing job that after 2 years, they shut down the school. But after the school was shut down, by that time I was married to my wife, Kim, and we just refocused back on farming, ranching, and our family. 5 years ago, my wife and I moved from our little house in Rebello, because my dad's still on the farm, to Millbank because we outgrew our house. We've got 3 kids, 7, 6, and 3. They're all potty trained now, so we got that going for us. 2 years ago, I retired from the reserves, and I just feel compelled to serve again. I'd like to serve as your representative. My priorities are going to be, number one, supporting farmers and ranchers. Number two, supporting public education, especially our teachers. I think we can do better by our teachers. And the third thing is I want to stay laser focused on the small and rural communities because that's who we are. I kind of leave off by saying, I'm doing this for a selfish reason. I've got 3 kids. When they're old enough to decide where they want to live, they can live wherever they want. But I would prefer for them to stay here. And if they choose to leave, I want it to be a difficult decision. Thank you. Ryan Kohl.
There are your 5 candidates for 2 seats. So primary is June 2nd. We'll move on to the Senate candidates. We've got Tim Begalka. If you would introduce yourself, please.
You bet. Thank you. I'm Tim Begalka from Clear Lake. I previously have served 4 years in the House and 4 years in the Senate, and the distinct privilege of serving 4 years with your County Commissioner, Bert Tolson. He was known as One Tie Tolson. He only had one tie. He wore the same tie every day, but he did have several different shirts. So, and I had my philosophy, a different tie every single day. I wore a different tie every 35 days because I had about 40 ties. I have a wife, Rhonda. She teaches preschool. She's a preschool aide at dual school in Clear Lake. We have 5 kids. We have 6 grandkids. Every one of them lives in South Dakota. My 2 younger boys are sitting in the back, Ronnie and Robbie. They're my campaign workers. Those of you that have been following Hamlin Athletics for the last 10 or so years, you've probably seen those 2 characters against you, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, or track. They're my boys. Anyway, if you want to know a little more about me, I've got flyers. They're on the table or on this table over here. Pick one up, take it with you. In real life, I run Sauder Gardens, which is a nursery and greenhouse right south of Clear Lake. It's a family business. It's been there for 72 years. That's my full-time job, and it's a little hard to get away this time of year, no matter what day of the week it is. But I made it. I've made it to several of these events, and it's kind of interesting. Having served 8 years, just like Fred did, this is the 4th different alignment I run in. As far as counties, this is the first time I've had the privilege to run in Hamlin County. The only 2 consistent ones are the same ones are Dual and Grant. They've stayed in District 4 the last 4 censuses, but every time we have a change. And so I'm glad to be here in Hamlin. I appreciate your vote for the Senate from Republican primary, June 2nd. Thank you very much.
All right, and we've got your incumbent, Stephanie Sauder. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I guess I'll use my teacher voice. I think I still have it after a few years. I am Stephanie Sauder. Most of you know me. I either taught your children or I don't know if I taught any of you. It doesn't make me feel quite so old if I don't see students in here. But anyway, many of you know me and my background, my family, Jerry, and our 2 boys, Isaac and Levi. Yes, Isaac is my son, and he's running for sheriff. Just try to put that pitch in for you, pal. Also, you know my background is in agriculture. I come from a long line of generational farmers, and I'm very proud of those farmers. And not only are they in my background, but they are in my future. Same as education. I was a teacher for 30 years. I actually started teaching at Grant Dual. I didn't teach Ryan, but and here he turned out good anyway. But but anyway, education will always be near and dear to my heart. I do serve on the education committee in the Senate, and we have to be able to take care of our children because that's our obligation, not only by Constitution but by moral and by just a good human responsibility. We have to take care of our children. We have to take care of our elderly. I ran a bill this year that passed, but the governor vetoed it, but that would take care of our elderly folks who get to stay at home as long as they can. You know me, I could talk forever, but I will just say this, that I serve. It's an honor for me to serve in Pierre. I don't take that lightly. I know that when I walk into that building, I am blessed to be there. Thank you for those who voted for me, and thank you for those that will vote for me to send me back to Pierre on June 2nd. Thank you very much.
One question. Anyone else have a question on the card? Like to collect?
Can we write questions?
What's that?
Can we write questions? Get a card.
Okay, well, to get started here, this will work in good, I believe. So the first question, and I think we'll just go down the row and then we'll just come back and forth. And then I've got a couple questions at the end, depending on the time, that are Senate and House related. So Fred, if you don't mind, I'll start with you. Property taxes remain one of the biggest concerns for homeowners and ag landowners in District 4. What long-term reforms do you support that would reduce the burden while still maintaining stable funding for schools and local governments?
Thanks for the question. It's an excellent question, and I think the most important part of it was to remain and maintain stable funding, because local tax efforts are what go into that. That's going to be probably my most significant effort this next year. You know, the legislature passed a couple of bills pertaining to tax relief for property owners. I think it's just the beginning. A ton of work went into it. I don't know how many dozen bills were introduced this year. And I'll be upfront with you. One of the bills that was passed that provided the counties the opportunity to provide some additional relief, I would not have supported, because it provided the relief most significantly to the large counties, and it wouldn't have done anything for District 4. So I think more work is needed. What would I do? Number one, I like the idea of looking at our budget. Can we cut? I don't know. We're a very lean state, but I'm not opposed to a Doge type system to look at line item by line item, and if we can reserve any monies, that should be put back into the people through legislative efforts. I like looking at the means that we fund our schools. You know, about half, give or take, is local, and the other half, give or take, is through the state. I don't see any reason we can't re-examine the funding formula and put more efforts, more burdens on the state system, less on us locally. In 2019, we discontinued the ag circuit breaker. We used to have a circuit breaker that reduced ag prices. We can return to that, at least look at it. So a couple of considerations.
Thank you. All right, Kenneth, move on to you. You need to repeat it. Are you good?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Property taxes remain one of the biggest concerns for homeowners and ag landowners in District 4. What long-term reforms do you support that would reduce the burden while still maintaining stable funding for schools and local governments?
Yeah, property tax was a hot issue. I served on a tax committee in the House. We had 38 bills that came across in front of us. And I know that State Affairs had bills as well regarding property taxes. I supported SB 96 that gives the counties the local option to exchange property taxes for sales tax. What it does in Hamlin County, it would reduce average owner occupied taxes by about 12%. Fred is correct. It is weighted towards the larger counties, but I also thought it brings value as a local control issue, and that's what I like to see. As far as SB 245, that was the last bill introduced from session, other than the budget bills. That one came at us in a hurry. It was poorly put together, poorly constructed. It's just a tax shift. It ignores the big three, which is school teachers, state highways, state workers, and also special care providers. And those are the folks that, in my estimation, are probably the most underserved by state government, simply because they're taking care of our most vulnerable folks out there. They are our nursing home care providers, any type of special care providers that you see out there. So 245 just ignores those people 100%. It ignores the schools and it ignores the state workers. Again, found it rather distasteful that we can't even give a nod to our state employees and especially to our special care providers.
Thank you. Dylan Jordan, do you want me to repeat the question?
How to address property taxes without cutting funding for everything else?
Yeah, what long-term reforms do you support that would reduce the burden while still maintaining stable funding for schools and local governments?
Yeah, well, the first thing we need to do is set what our priorities are. And I don't think that'd be building billion-dollar prisons and giving tax exemptions to big businesses. And also, we shouldn't increase the budget by 80 million every year. It's doubled in the last 8. So if we ever want to get a hold on taxes, the first thing you do is regulate spending. If you keep going in the debt or keep doing that, my budget hasn't doubled in 8 years. I'm pretty sure no one's here's has. We need to address the spending first. I remember when I was a senior in high school was when Dugard cut, and it would be the legislator, cut the budget by 10% across the board. It was tough, but we managed it. If we just didn't increase it, we could possibly grow ourselves out of it. So that'd be the first thing to do. We did not cut taxes this year. We actually increased it a little bit, but we cut property taxes. So the first thing we could do is to get a hold of the spending and get government out of the way. If you have big government, you have to pay more. A couple examples of things we could cut. The Trump administration, through their Doge, took away $300,000 extra dollars for South Dakota Public Broadcasting that South Dakota had the Appropriations Committee put it in the G bill without a vote of the body. That's one thing. We started 5 new welfare programs this year, also in South Dakota. So the first thing to do with the rein in taxes is not expand on, not create new programs would be a good place to start. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Gary Hudiburgh?
Hudiburgh, yes, sir. Yeah, I don't need to repeat it. Property tax is a central challenge. I spend time in Public Utility Commission meetings. I spend time in county council meetings. And on a consistent basis in our county councils, there's this challenge of inflation. There's this challenge of snowplow blades cost more, tires cost more. We talk about spending, and spending is certainly an area that's a challenge. We have and I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it's a 150-year-old prison in Sioux Falls. It's around that. It's a very, very old, dilapidated building. And for a correctional facility, it's very dangerous for both the inmates and for the workers there. And so there's a reality that in our state budget, we're projected to have a 34% increase in our prison population. And we have one of the highest per capita prison populations in the free world. And so there's a matter of looking critically at the expenses that can be addressed, but also understanding and recognizing that we run lean. We run very, very lean compared to other states. I believe Minnesota's budget's about $340 billion a year. And so we have to look critically at where we can be able to change and then where we can be able to look to be able to share best practices, because we have a lot of brilliant people within the state, a lot of brilliant counties, cities, townships, and being able to look at ways to break down those silos, to share those best practices, and then to be able to find those ways to be able to run in a way that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, our family farms exist. And if our family farms can't exist, that property tax is strangling us. And so it's something that's a challenge. I view it as an ongoing process. It's not something that's a discrete moment where we say we're going to get rid of all of this, because we need the schools, we need the education, we need the capability. But it's looking at how we can build workforce. I'd heard very good recommendations about growing out of it. Ryan, it was you who recommended it. But growing our way out of it. I think if we increase the state GDP, there's some ways we can be able to help get us into a better path. So thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Next is Ryan Kohl.
So when we talk about property taxes stay local. The bulk of your property taxes are going to support the schools. So that's where the money is going. So let's not talk about prisons or other things. When you're talking property taxes, we're local here. One thing I would like to see, so we've had a lot of windmill development, which I know can be a dirty word, but I was very disappointed in the fact that the schools got that money for 5 years and then they started decreasing that. We need to, if a community has a development, they should get the advantages to it. They should be able to maintain that tax value in their communities And that alone would probably help out a lot of our schools in District 4 and allow some property tax relief. I'm not a big fan of shifting taxes from property taxes to sales tax. I don't think stealing from Peter to pay Paul is really a good solution. So the other thing is, I think education is getting more and more expensive. There's more and more challenges with special ed education and more challenging students. We need to figure out best practices and have some cooperation among the school districts to share some of these resources. I think if you shared some of these resources and some of the learning the best practices, you could bring down the cost. That's a cost saving. So once again, coming up with good practices to have cost savings and bringing back some of that property tax from things like windmills and large developments, because like I mentioned before, we can build our way out of this. But if we do build our way out of it, we should keep that development and the benefits to that local. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll move on to Senate candidate Tim Begalka.
You bet. I've also always felt that property taxes are really, you come down to it, they're really immoral. They're just wrong. If you buy a piece of property, you own it, you shouldn't have to pay rent to the government the rest of your life. I remember having a conversation with Larry Roden when we were freshmen in the House, and I had that idea. I says, why do we have property taxes? Let's get rid of them. You know, back then it probably wasn't very popular, and it maybe still isn't. But you know, we have another candidate for governor this year, Toby Doden, and I think he's got some neat ideas. He's talking about some outside revenue. There's some huge trusts that are housed in South Dakota that are not tapped. Maybe other transactions, such as some of these huge real estate transactions, no taxed. If we do want to eliminate property taxes, and I think we could do it gradually weaning off of them over the years, it's inevitable. You have to shift it somewhere if you want to pay for your schools, et cetera. Maybe a little bit more sales tax, some of these outside revenues, and as a couple of you have mentioned, I don't care how big or how small your government entity is, you can always find places to cut. And I think the more efficient one is, the closer you are to home, like your township, is usually the more efficient, productive entity. And as you get bigger, the state is obviously less efficient, and the federal government is almost beyond hope. So those are some of my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And next we've got Stephanie Sauder.
So property taxes, there's not one answer to solving our property taxes. There's also these different facets that need to be considered. I voted for the bill that would allow counties to increase their tax to 0.5%. A county has that choice. That's local control. That's important to me, local control. I didn't vote for 245 for the same reasons Kent did. It was being rushed too quickly. But what we need to do to help property taxes, and we need property taxes because I want my schools to survive. I want my roads to be taken care of. We all need this. And so what I would like to see us do is encourage economic development into our counties, because they're the ones who are going to pay additional and larger amounts of property taxes. So that comes back to us. That takes the burden off our taxpayers. If we can have somebody else pay for it, then that will help us to do that. And it'll also generate jobs for our kids to stay here, then they'll buy homes. There'll be property taxes on there. So it's not just one answer. We have to look at everything to make it all work and put it together.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll start with Steph, and we'll just come back this way. So I'm going to take this question from the crowd, and we'll kind of adapt it a little. So it is to those opposed to the data centers in District 4 of Dual County. So I would maybe say, are you opposed to those data centers, or do you support those? And please justify the 68 windmills that will be built in your county and the site pollution and destruction to the bird populations, etc., with only a productive life of less than 20 years. So then what? So I think maybe, are you for the data centers? And if you're opposed to the data centers, then justifying, in your words, the windmills and what happens when they're not as productive after 20 years, I believe.
Thank you. As far as the data centers go, yes, I am in favor of them because as I just mentioned before, they are economic growth, economic development. They will bring money into our county, into our state, across the whole state, especially to the county that they're going to be built in, giving us additional property taxes. And so that will be a break, the property revenue break for the regular taxpayer. There's a lot of misinformation out there about data centers that I wish we could get totally dispel. And I'm going to say some of them are flat out lies. I'm just going to say that. And so when you consider data centers, make sure you're looking and listening to the right sources. I don't know a lot about the windmills, and so I can't go on there. When we were working with the data centers out in Pierre, we weren't making them mandatory. We were giving the counties the option, giving them incentives. So if they wanted to make that decision for their county, they could do that. That was a local control decision with the commissioners. That's where it should be. The state was just giving incentives to those counties to encourage those data centers, that revenue to come in to that county if they choose to do that. Data centers put us at a level playing field across 40 states. And consider this, a data center is not just about the revenue, it's about cybersecurity. We don't sell our land to foreign entities, but we're willing to put our data centers in China where we don't have access to that. Think about that. Forget the revenue. Think about the cybersecurity. That's what makes me nervous, and that's why we need to have our data centers here in South Dakota, or at least keep them in the United States. But South Dakota would greatly benefit from data centers.
Thank you. Tim Begalka, you are up next.
Thank you. I live in Dual County, the proposed site of a very large data center, and I guarantee you that at least 95% of the people in Dual County are diametrically opposed to it. And that is one reason why I'm running, because my opponent feels the opposite way, which is her prerogative. The huge data center proposed northeast of Toronto would have used the same electricity roughly as the entire city of Sioux Falls. Use a huge amount of water. None of the neighbors want it. There's already a large power plant near there that's noisy. The lights are on 24/7. Same way with the data center. Even large tract of land would be used for it. Who knows if we really need data centers? Big tech wants them. Of course, big tech wants them. Big tech wants everything. And I'm totally opposed to any type of a tax break to give to multi-million-dollar international companies. It's been predicted that within a couple of years, data centers can be housed in satellites or in ships orbiting the Earth. We won't even need them here on our ground or in our farmland. As far as windmills, it's kind of a different idea completely because, some people want them. Some farmers are fine having them on their land. That's kind of their prerogative. I do believe it's probably being overdone. Not everybody wants to see the windmills, hear the windmills. They're not really that efficient. Without tax subsidies, federal subsidies, we probably wouldn't have near as many as we do. And it is a little scary thinking 20, 30 years down the road, what's going to happen when these things become obsolete. There's a huge amount of concrete in that ground holding that thing up and all the apparatus. So I don't think windmills are a long-term answer. And the short answer to data centers is no. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ryan Kohl, you are up next.
Okay, so there's a couple things we're looking at. I'm going to probably focus on the data centers here. So number one, AI is here. We are in the information age, and currently we need data centers for this stuff to work. For Tim's phone here to work, for the one everybody else's that has a phone in here. This is a technology that everyone uses, whether you realize it or not. Every time you go to the hospital, every time for traffic information, there's a ton of things. And what I would say about AI is a tool. It's just like a hammer. It could do some amazing things. It could build some houses. it could also do something detrimental. So we're going to have to kind of work through some of that stuff. But data centers will be built. They need to go somewhere. And as Steph alluded to, we don't want them in China, right? China, if you want to know what the biggest theft in the history of humanity has been, it's the intellectual property that the Chinese have stolen from us over the last 20 to 30 years. If the data centers are built there, it'll just give them another upper hand. So we do want to keep them in the U.S. for security. I don't think we need 2,000 in the state, but we do need to be open-minded, right? We all have to kind of carry the burden. Just like power lines. Nobody wants a big power line in their backyard, but we're all part of a community here as a nation. And there is some huge, there could be some huge economic upsides to this. We talked about the property tax a little bit. Also, any electricity that is sold and used in South Dakota is taxed in South Dakota. That would be a huge tax revenue. Electricity is just like corn. It's a commodity. If we can use it in state, we're much better off. If we can take our corn and feed it to cattle, we do much better than shipping our corn out. Same thing with the electricity. So yeah, I'm open-minded to data centers. I think we should consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Gary Hudiburgh.
Does anybody know how much Texas's Office of Economic Development is spending to bring data centers to Texas right now? I don't see any hands going up. State of Texas is spending $1 billion a year to bring data centers there. I'm not 100% for data centers, and I'm not 100% against them. I worked in nuclear power plants. At Monticello Nuclear Power Plant in the last couple of years, they had a tritium leak, and the amount of tritium that leaked would have been like less than what I have in my cup. It has an impact on the watershed, but the reason they knew it happened is they had environmental monitoring. When we look at and consider these projects, there needs to be environmental monitoring. There's discussion and there's things that I've read where they talk about having a 20-degree increase in temperature in the region around some data centers. It depends on how it's cooled and how it's heated. We need to have environmental monitoring. We need to have analysis. We also need to think about, as a state, how we maintain our political power on a nationwide basis. Because there's a lot of states that have a lot of power that I don't think their voice should be as powerful as it is. And so what I'm trying to say is that there is a complexity to this problem that we need to look at and how we think about it. So when we look at these wind turbines, I've worked in the nuclear power industry. I think everything should be a pressurized water reactor. Everything should be set up. It should be a very simple, they're 600 megawatts. It's a very easy setup system to run. We have a reality that, the wind tower turbines have already been approved by the PUC. It's not going to get stopped. And so it's a matter of working with what we have and then looking in the long term, how we can build something that has the environmental monitoring to make sure that our watersheds are safe, making sure that our communities aren't having a 20-degree increase in temperature, and being able to analyze and make sure that our power usage isn't negatively impacting our communities. Because there's areas where having a data center actually can be a huge benefit to the energy cost. There's ways in which there's arbitrage that's done on the energy markets. And so there's some benefits and there's some costs. So it's a matter of looking at it critically. I'm not all for it and I'm not all against it. It's a matter of being able to look at, analyze, to make the wise decision, looking at all factors. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Dylan Jordan.
Thank you. I am not against data centers, but I was against the one proposed in Dual County because I work and live in Dual County. The amount of people that support it, I can count on my fingers, and they're all elected officials. No one who's not an elected official wants it in Dual County. I work at TechOrg, which is probably the biggest employer, one of the biggest employers. No one there wants it when you talk to them. I've asked because I wanted to enter into this conversation unbiasedly. So I'm not against data centers, but I'm not against data center, but I'm also anti-crony capitalism, and I'm not for giving billion-dollar companies tax exemptions when your guys' property taxes have almost doubled, if not doubled. Also, not believing in crony capitalism, if crony capitalism wasn't a thing, windmills wouldn't exist. Wind turbines wouldn't exist. The green energy and the green movement is all a scam. I wasn't for the wind turbines before they came, so the second part of the question was to justify it. I'm not going to justify it because I wasn't for wind turbines to begin with.
Thank you. Up next, Ken Rowe.
Yeah, a couple of things. I'll start with the wind, but I wanted to give an explanation. There was a comment made earlier about the trust, or we need to tax the trust. The trusts are taxed. They're taxed through transfer fee. It's the same when any real estate is transferred, unless it's within a family. I think there's 18 exemptions to the transfer fee. Trusts are not part of that exemption scheme on that. So they are taxed when their ownership transfers. The reason why there are such large trusts and land holdings in South Dakota is because our cost to carry is so incredibly affordable or cheap, depends on how you want to call it. And that's because we have an extremely low property tax burden. We're going to do what we can to continue to hold that down. On the windmills, I'm the only one at the table this year who brought legislation that would transfer that tax back to the school districts. We did that through Senate Bill 210. I worked with Senator Steve Colbeck from Sioux Falls on that legislation. It was good legislation. It brought that property tax generated portions of it back to the school districts that are served, or that have wind turbines in their districts. And that's almost every school district in District 4. So I just wanted to clear the air on that a little bit. The data centers, we're out of alignment in the state of South Dakota. There's 40 states that have incentives in place through favorable tax treatment. This is not a new idea. There's 80 plus sales tax exemptions in force in the state of South Dakota today. The state foregoes over $1.4 billion in sales tax collections through those sales tax exemptions. We don't do that because we like giving sales tax exemptions. We do that to keep South Dakota competitive in the national marketplace.
Thank you. Up next, Fred Deutsch.
Thank you. I'll start with the windmills. Number one, I'm a big supporter of local control. So if local governments are okay with it and the people want it on their property, I'm okay with it too. Kent had a really good bill, 210. I wish it would have passed. If I'm lucky enough, blessed enough to be reelected to serve again, and maybe Kent is too, we'll team up together on it because I think it deserves to pass. It's really good for our schools. District 4, as Kent said, is the biggest beneficiary of those dollars. Concerning data centers, I support economic development. Economic development is so important for our future, for our children, to help lower the tax burdens. I am okay with development of data centers, again, if the people are okay with it. I want it to be voted on by the people. And if they don't want it, like if Dual County says no, then it's no. I mean, that's how it is, in my humble opinion. But you know, I was just to a guy's house in Clear Lake yesterday. I hate to disagree with my colleagues, but he was all upset because it didn't pass. He wants to see his taxes go down. So all you got to do is knock on doors, and you see lots and lots of opinions. And I think to say otherwise can be maybe giving the opinion of more bias than actually exists. People are very divided about it, and that's why I think the people should decide. Concerning the bill, I wouldn't, with kudos to my friend for bringing the bill, Kent, I wouldn't have supported it because I thought the incentives need to be fair. I thought they weren't. I thought they're out of balance with what the people need. It's got to be fair to the people. Always fairness to the people. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go with another crowd question here since they participated. This is a kind of a two-part question. What are you most excited about to get to work on here? And briefly describe your plan to get it done. And Fred will start and kind of go back that way again.
What am I most excited to work on? You know what? So in my 8 years in Pierre, I've worked primarily on social issues. pro-life issues, protecting children from transgender ideology. In fact, I was the first legislator in the United States to bring a bill to support our children, to protect our children from trans ideology. That's the work I've done in the past. Going forward, I want to do the work that I'm hearing about from the people here, which is primarily lowering property tax burdens. I want to sit down with other legislators who will roll up their sleeves and say, we need to get this done for the people. And I want to entertain lots of different ideas. I want to look back at things that were entertained previously, but I want to bring forward new ideas. And not just about owner-occupied. How do we support and protect our farmers, our ag land? How do we do that? I don't want to see income tax, state income tax. That's crazy talk in my book. So how do we do it? I'm not thrilled about shifting to consumption taxes. So how do we do it? And I can tell you, I don't have 100% of the answer. I've got a bunch of different little ideas, but I want to put my head together with other legislators, new ones and old ones, to accomplish that. That's what I'm most excited about, is doing the will of the people, the things that are most important to South Dakotans. And I think right now, that's lowering our property taxes.
Thank you. Ken Terrell?
So what am I most excited about for next year? I hope to return. I think I did some good, and it's rewarding work. Couple of things will definitely change. There's 25 vacant seats in the House right now, so there'll be at least 25 new members out of 70, potentially up to 70 new, but there's some unopposed there. My work, I'll continue to work on economic development. I think it's important that we stop the brain drain. Right now, most things are generational and they move from family within families, and that's good. Keeps those families strong and going. But what about the kids who don't have that advantage, who want to stay here because this is where they grew up, but their opportunities just don't exist here for them to remain here in the state? Government can do good, whether it's sales tax exemptions, the over 80 of them that we already have, whether it's the RPP program, which is used quite strongly. Agri-Pure in Lake Norton was a huge beneficiary of the RPP program. That's a sales tax rebate. It's not an exemption, but it's tied to the sales tax that they pay on their equipment. We've got TIF districts all over the place. Again, Lake Norton, Millbank, Valley Queen also use the RPP program. And I want to back to the brain drain and chasing economic development out of the state of South Dakota. We chased GEVO out down here at Lake Preston, $1.5 billion project. It left, it's gone. They're not coming back. That's because we put our fences up and we say, we only want this type of economic development. Well, I'm here to tell you, I started out one man, one truck. That's about as small business as you can get. And I worked for Monsanto Corporation. I had trucks working for them. That's about the biggest corporation that you can get. Economic development spans all different types of business sizes. So it's my intent to keep working hard, promoting South Dakota, because we've got good values and we've got a very hardworking workforce who deserves wage competition.
Thank you. Dylan Jordan, if you want to go next, please.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to is, to quote the wise philosopher Kid Rock, he has a song that it says, it's the same song spinning because the same song's always the truth. I'm going to focus on protecting your God-given rights and your constitutional rights. That'll be my main focus, like it has been the last 2 years. One bill I actually worked on last year, but with language from LRC, it got delayed. Both myself and Representative Goodwin from West River were both working on it, and the LRC was messing with the wording, and the deadline came, and I said more people would vote for it if you carry it. So I was working with them. We just never got it dropped. Right now, when you buy a vehicle and you register it, the taxes, the Department of Revenue is charging you what it's worth and not what you paid for it. And that changed, I think it was 3 years ago. We're working on a law to bring that back. We missed the deadline last year. That will be the first bill that I will work on, but there's going to be plenty of others, or a couple others, but protecting your God-given rights would be my number one priority.
Thank you. All right, Gary Hudiburgh.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Reclaiming the people at risk in this community. We need to protect our rights. We have a great legislator that focuses on that. But reclaiming the people at risk. In my career, I've worked with a lot of people that did 12 years in prison. I was down in San Antonio, Texas last year around this time. We were working to fix a coal plant. I was working with a guy who's an elder in his church now, and he did 12 years in prison. We have people within our communities right now that are desperate for work. They don't know where to find it. We have all these ideas of projects, all these concepts of, oh, well, let's build wind towers, let's build this, let's build that. We have these great schools. We have Mitchell Tech. I met with Lake Area Technical College last week. If we can find those pathways to reclaim our communities at risk, we can grow the GDP. When we think about our tribal nations, there's tribal communities where they have 80% unemployment. We talk a lot about 2.2% unemployment, and I'm going to tell you that doesn't capture, that only looks at people that have looked for work in the last 4 weeks. When you look at on the whole entire state, we've probably got 80 to 100,000 people that aren't working right now. If we can find those pathways, these are ideas that I've already got under development, but if we can find those pathways, we can successfully grow the GDP of this state. We can build our tax base. We can have more success. We can be able to show the great beacon on a hill that we are as a conservative state and how we can be able to reclaim those communities at risk. That's what I'm most excited about. Again, continuing to be pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, continuing to build, strengthen, and grow the great things that we're already doing and to reclaim those people at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron and Kohl, you're up next.
So my number one focus, the one thing that I will look at everything in the lens of, is it more likely to keep our kids here or less likely to keep our kids here? That's the lens I'm going to look through everything on. District 4 is a large amount of small town communities, rural communities. We have great towns that are slowly fading away because we're not keeping our youth here. And I seriously believe if we can get some housing and development, people will stay and people will come back. So whether that's through grants for sewer systems or water systems or some kind of grant to help build some affordable entry-level housing in our small towns. And it doesn't have to be a lot. When you're talking about towns between 100 people and 1,000 people, a handful of houses makes a huge difference. That's what my focus is going to be. I'm going to be focused on making our communities a community that children or our young people want to choose and stay here and have their kids here. I've said it before, that one of the most beautiful sounds is a loud park, right? We want loud parks. We want our kids here. And so that's the lens I'm going to look at everything in. And my number one objective is going to be helping District 4 in our small towns, working through development cooperatives throughout District 4, commissions, and cities to figure out how the state can help them continue to stay viable. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Tim Begalka.
Thank you, sir. I muddled this in my head ever since you guys started talking, and then I kind of like all your ideas, but I'm going to bounce off of Ryan here. I want to continue what President Trump has started in the going after things like DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and what I call nonsense, which has permeated our colleges specifically and down in the high schools, grade schools, et cetera, in America. We've got thousands of, I'll call them skulls full of mush, like Rush Limbaugh called them, protesting for Palestine, protesting for Iran, protesting for illegal aliens, protesting against the cops. Where do they learn all this nonsense? Kristi Noem, to her credit, when she was governor, she tried to put a stop to some of this brainwashing of kids. And I don't know exactly where it's at, how many of those bills passed, but colleges, high schools, grade schools need to be free places to think and share of ideas, not limited to one certain train of thought, or you're ridiculed, or you're given a worse grade, or some such a thing like that. So whether it be the gender nonsense like Fred talked about, I'd be happy to take that challenge on and support any kind of a bill that keeps us literally, give us free thought, give us free choices, intellectual freedom, honesty, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie Sauder. You're up next.
So to limit it to one thing, I can't do that. I'm excited to go back out to Pier and work on things that matter to District 4 the most. I'm not going to put an overlay of what's happening out in Washington or some other state that's breaking down. We're in a good state, and people would like to make you believe that South Dakota is going to hell in a handbasket. That is not true. That is not true. We've got a good state. We've got good people working out there. Senator Rowe was one of them, and the other senators that were sitting here, and many more. They're out there working doing the good fight for the right reasons. I'm excited to work on the protection of our elderly. In fact, next week I have a meeting that will help fix that bill that the governor didn't sign to make it so we can put it in place to keep our elderly at home as long as possible in their own homes. Working on the education for our students. Contrary to popular belief, our kids in District 4 do not have mush minds. We've got some of the brightest kids in this state. We've got some of the best teachers in this state. And I will fight for them. I will continue to fight for them because they are good. They're not being brainwashed. I appreciate them. Our ag economy, we are on a global stage. South Dakota is on a global stage for agriculture, and we have got to keep that moving. We can't go back to 1955 because that would make us a third world country. We are moving forward, and those are the things that I'll be working with and looking forward to working with the new people that are in the executive office or even Governor Roden if he comes back in that capacity and the new legislators that will be there.
All right, thank you. We'll work the same way back, and we got another crowd question here. So, a mental health concern. Do you feel the current system is sufficient, or does it need to be focused on more? What measures could be put in place to make the mental health system more efficient?
We need to continue working on our mental and behavioral health issues. It is not sufficient. It needs to be addressed in many different areas, in our schools, in our businesses, in law enforcement. It's across the whole state. With the rural health transformational bill, that addresses it. That's because President Trump moved that one big beautiful bill and put that in there. That is a godsend to South Dakota. We got over $400 million for that, and a lot of that will go toward behavioral health, mental health. We need to work with it in our incarceration systems and the judicial systems, and so we need to keep working at it very, very diligently because it is not adequate. And the programs that are available and the people fighting for it, they're out there. We just got to get together on a concerted effort to make it work for those who really need the help.
All right, thank you. Tim Begalka, you're up next.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I pretty much agree with what Steph said there. And I think we need to take away some of the stigma. Mental health is common. I mean, mental illness is common. And for people to be scared or afraid or become reclusive because maybe they have some mental health issues, it really isn't a whole lot different than if you have a physical health issue. So, it probably isn't handled entirely as well as it should be in South Dakota. I don't, have any specific answers, but I would like to see that be something, at the forefront that people aren't afraid to talk about or people aren't afraid to discuss or people should not fear the idea that the guy down the street, oh no, he's crazy. Well, maybe not. He's maybe not crazy. Maybe you need to be nicer to him. Maybe he needs to be included in your community more. That type of thing. make it a little more mainstream, mainline. Don't necessarily lock people away, but try to keep them in the community. And we all could do a better job of that, just befriending our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ryan Kohl, you're up next.
So I'm not an expert on this issue, but I will tell you, and all the going around the district and talking to teachers and law enforcement members, mental health is a serious problem. And I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has been impacted by someone who took their own life. Having spent my time in the military, I've lost comrades to the enemy fire, but I've lost more from taking their own lives. There are more U.S. military members who have died from suicide than from at the hands of a foreign adversary. We need to figure out a way to do better. Investing in mental health can create a great return on investment. It only takes one kid in the classroom to disrupt education for the other 30. It only takes one person on the road that's having a mental health issue, or one person that has, God forbid, a gun that can create some real havoc. So I think we really need to refocus and find the resources and find the best ways to move forward with those. Now, I don't have those solutions, but I'm willing to talk to people and listen to people and talk to law enforcement members, members of our law enforcement, our EMTs, and our teachers to figure out, hey, what can we do better and how do we do it, and what resources do you need? Because I think the resources we give will pay big dividends. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary, you first. You're up
Yeah, of
next.
course. In the late 1960s, my grandfather killed himself. And he killed himself, and my mother found him, and she almost died. She was 14 years old. The pain and suffering that my family went through because of mental health is a scar that I don't know how to explain properly. I have scars on my body from my struggles with it. I've been sober for 11 and a half years through God. In my time, I focused on being able to help this mental health issue. I have a nonprofit that's youth facing. I'm a mental health first aid responder. I've brought QPR training. So it's question, persuade, and refer. If you have a pen and you know people, or if you have it in a position, there's an organization called Lost and Found. And you can have county funding or state funding to bring a question, persuade, refer training to your community. This is the response to be able to help us to learn how to talk about it. The challenge with suicide is it's the long-term impact. I can tell you, being a couple generations removed from it, it has a daily impact on my family. My sister, who is 6 years younger than me, is still crippled because of a suicide that happened over 50 years ago. I lost probably 25 years of my life to this. We see people that are incarcerated that are in these different challenges. And these are people where if we can find the tools and resources, and when I talk about reclaiming people, this is where we're talking about. We had a 10% increase in suicides in the state of South Dakota in 2024. A 10% increase. As a nation, we look at the pornography, we look at the promiscuity, we look at the cell phones, the doom scrolling. People aren't seeing what their true human nature is. And as a result of that, we have this separation that occurs. I am committed, I promise you, of anything to address mental health, to be able to help us to be stronger as a community, to use the pain that I have. I always think about Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil by good. Thank you.
Thank you. Dylan Jordan, you're up next.
I'm sorry to hear about that. That's sad. Mental health is a big issue going on, especially in the youth. One thing that we have to address is COVID caused a lot of it among our youth. And government is a lot of the cause of that. So the first thing we can do is not have the government have as much control over our lives to lock us into your room. South Dakota didn't lock down, but we came pretty close to it if you look up the voting records. And the school's still closed, and church is still closed, and Watertown had a curfew. There's still a lot of that stuff going on. But now that we've moved on that, I think it's going to be a generational issue we have to work on, and it's not necessarily the government's role to do it, even though I would, if there's a way we could help, I'd be all for that. But we need to teach the next generation that you're made in the image of God. God knew you before you were thought of by your parents, and he has a plan for you, so you should work to do what God's plan was for you. And then also, we need to quit focusing on self-esteem and focus on self-worth. You are good because you're doing good. You're blessed because you are blessed, so you will be a blessing. And then I think slowly moving forward in the next couple generations, we can turn this around.
Thank you. All right, Ken Terrell, you're up.
Well, I come at it personal experience. My wife has a degree in psychology, and that's why she married me, and that's why I married her.
Case study. Long term.
So the rural health transformation that Steph mentioned earlier addresses some of this on a state level. We also had Atlanta Greenfield brought a bill to build a daycare sort of center in Aberdeen. It's not daycare, it's daycare for anybody who's in high school, junior high, grade school, that. Another reason I supported the vote for the prison is because our current prison, we're cramped. We're just out of room there for any type of on-site mental health care. And I hope that we can see that developed. Prison, they broke ground on it this week. It's an important component to it too. And it was one more reason why I voted against SB 245, the big property tax break. Again, SB 245 ignores any type of this type of help that could be developed from our current tax loads that we pay through property tax. My heart goes out to people who struggle with these things. I think we're a compassionate state, and we need to continue our work in that direction, because government's role isn't to take care of people sitting here at this table. It's to take care of people in need, whether that's mental health or help in the justice system. Those types of folks dealing with mental issues deserve our compassion.
Thank you. Mr. Fred Deutsch, you're up now.
Thank you. Yeah, big challenge. Those of you who know me know that in addition to knocking on lots of doors, I've traveled District 4 to visit our school districts. I've had meetings with just about every superintendent I did here at Hamilton County, school board members and parents, to talk about the biggest issues. What are the biggest challenges to your school that the South Dakota legislature can help with? How can we improve academic achievement, which everybody wants? How can we improve graduation rates? How do we deal with mental health and behavioral health issues? Because they're happening in every classroom all over our state, and at a younger and younger age. That's what I'm hearing from every superintendent and every school board member, is that it's getting worse and happening at a younger age. And they're looking for solutions. And I think possibly the bill that Lana brought might be the tip of the iceberg. Maybe we do need greater resource centers to deal with those children. Maybe that's something we have to reinvest in as a state. I look forward to seeing the results of Lana's bill. The Rural Health Transformation Act was a godsend to South Dakota and to our district. I wish all of our legislators in District 4 would have voted for it. But it was an awesome bill. It's going to provide us lots of money to improve things like mental health issues, so we don't have to drive to Timbuktu to Sioux Falls or Aberdeen for help. Maybe it can be provided electronically, digitally, in improved ways. So those are all things I look forward to, all possible solutions to the problem.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go back through and start with you if you're good with that, Mr. Deutsch.
Good with that.
All right, we'll do some the rural healthcare. District 4 is definitely a pretty rural area. So rural hospitals and EMS services across Northeast South Dakota are facing staffing shortages and financial strain. What should the legislature do to stabilize rural healthcare and ensure communities in District 4 do not lose critical emergency services?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you have to take a comprehensive look, and I'll share with you a bill that I brought a few years ago, House Bill 1185. I brought because I had people from small communities like here share concerns about their doctors were not available for them anymore because their doctors had no compete contracts. And for example, Sanford said if you can't get along and sign your contract, you can't practice in South Dakota. So we saw that as an issue, and we passed a law that prohibits no compete contracts. Those are no longer legal in the state of South Dakota. That allows our doctors and our healthcare providers, in fact, all healthcare providers now, to stay in our local communities. So that was a solution that we brought back then. Beyond that, I think we need to look at how do we make our Medicaid reimbursement rates more competitive so rural hospitals are more viable and can stay open. I think we have to just re-examine what our priorities are as a state. Rural healthcare has to become more than just a line item. I mean, for a lot of us, it's life or death, especially while we're far away from the major hospitals. So I think more than anything, I just want to emphasize taking a look at the challenges. Everything comes down to the dollar, right? What do we prioritize versus don't? And healthcare has to be a priority.
Thank you. Ken Rowe, you're up next.
The Rural Healthcare Transformation Act is huge for South Dakota. It's federal money that's coming, it's going somewhere. And if we would not have accepted that, it would have went to Minnesota or Wyoming or Hawaii or who knows where. So through the hard work, and I got to give credit where credit's due, Melissa's parents are sitting right there. I don't know, is she the director of health? Secretary of Health in Pierre. Her and her whole team put in countless hours making South Dakota fit into the program and realizing its maximum rewards. I also want to give a shout out to Representative Tim Wahlberg from Madison. He worked really hard on a lot of these same issues. And I'm going to go straight to Senate Bill 211, which was a bill that I carried on the House side. It did not come through. It addressed the county ambulance services, how they're not getting reimbursed for their full costs, and how we as a legislature could solve that problem, because right now they're being reimbursed at Medicare rates, which are terrible. And we wanted to push them towards the 300%, which would have brought them close to cost and kept those folks, keep their gas bills paid, keep the lights on in the ambulance hall. The other thing we're running into is we're running out of volunteers for these rural ambulance crews. I don't know if the solution is to recruit people, offer to pay them, or what the answer is. But again, it's people that are my age and older that are often members of those ambulance crews. We're great people, but we're not going to be around forever. We need to incentivize more people to participate in those programs. And I think we can tie that to bringing in additional business, because a lot of times they'll put up money to support local emergency services.
Thank you. Dylan Jordan, you're up next.
Yeah, we have a a lot of issues with the healthcare here in South Dakota. I've been blessed where I haven't had to deal with too much of it, but I've been having a little issues with my blood pressure, so I've been trying to schedule a physical, and it's basically everyone's a year out or not accepted patients. That's just one small example, so I feel bad for people that have actually like really bad health issues going on. But I think one thing we've learned from Obamacare especially, the more government gets involved in healthcare, the worse it gets. We don't have seems that they get involved with the insurance, and then all of a sudden these nonprofit hospitals are buying out all these big corporations. You should see I'm in Health and Human Services, you should see the lobbyists lined up outside of the room when we have bills coming. So I think the first thing we need to do is to address those issues so you could have the medical freedom to be able to choose what you can do with your own health care. And then some of these problems will work itself out, but it's going to be a long-term thing, not a short-term answer.
Thank you. Gary Hudiburgh, you're up next.
It's interesting with the rural health transformation piece, because I know I talk about workforce a lot, and there's a huge workforce development piece to it, where they're looking to develop these community health workers, and it is part of the Medicaid expansion, but being able to have that funding to help us build out our emergency services, to build out the capabilities that we have in the state. This is an area that it's very significant funding. I mean, it only being 5 years, it means that you have that time, and it's something that's a really significant opportunity. Kent mentioned spent time talking quite a bit with the Gary, South Dakota Fire and EMS or Fire Department. And I mean, we've responded to some very difficult, complex mass casualty incidents. And when you start talking about, a home explosion with 2 casualties and being able to get, airlift, rotor wing response within, less than 30 minutes is really remarkable work. And we had one person that perished in that incident, and we had one person that survived. But we've had some really horrific incidents. And so thinking about how we can build on that, to really build that spirit of civic involvement and civic engagement in our young people, because that's where, for fire and EMS, for us to be able to maintain our home insurance, it's a critical thing. So it's an area that needs to be a discussion. It needs to be a discussion among faith communities. It needs to be a discussion in our nonprofits and educational communities, because it's a matter of, for us to be able to stay here, this is what's necessary. So thank you.
Thank you. Brian Kohl.
So one of the big challenges with rural healthcare is we have small towns and small communities. So competition isn't really a viable option. You can't have 2 hospitals, and there's no town in District 4 that can sustain 2 hospitals, right? It's just not possible. So there needs to be, and I hate to say this as a Republican, but there needs to be a little bit more government support to deal with this, right? Because it won't work in the free market system. So, we talked about the Medicaid reimbursement. So I went through the Esteline nursing home, phenomenal facility, great thing. One of the biggest challenges is they aren't getting reimbursed at a high enough rate to keep it sustainable. And unfortunately, in Clear Lake, we've lost our nursing home, right? Which nursing homes are something that, looking at the demographics, that's something we really need. So figuring out ways to do this, and I'm glad we have the rural transformation. I'm glad we approved that. That was a good deal. So figuring out perhaps using technology a little bit more. I mean, technology is huge. So being able to talk directly to a doctor in Sioux Falls or a doctor anywhere in the world without having them come here, these things maybe will help out. The other big thing I think we need to look at is, and we're moving this way in the schools, we need to focus more on getting kids excited about going into medical fields, right? And some of the schools are already doing this with their CTE programs, and there's some great things. And I think if we expose kids early to this, they will get excited about it and they will go into these fields. So it's a long-term problem, but I think we can work through it. So.
Thank you. Tim Begalka, you're up next.
Thank you. When you look at the whole medical field, I don't think there's a shortage of money. I think there's a gross misappropriation of money. If you've ever been to Sioux Falls, and I assume most of you have, every single time I go there, Sanford has added on. Sanford has built another building. And they're not small buildings, they're monstrosities. They're multi-million-dollar monstrosities. And we have basically a three-headed monopoly in South Dakota: Sanford, McKinnon, and Monument in Rapid City. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I don't know how much are the top administrators making at Sanford compared to a local doctor or a nurse that serves the clinic in Revillo or Esteline. I don't think more government is the answer. If anything, less government is the answer. And somehow we need to have fairer, freer competition, and whatever the incentive is for Sanford or whoever, and even Watertown. How many times has the Watertown Hospital remodeled and added on? I mean, I can't believe it. I go in that place, it's like a big museum. Whatever their incentive is, and I think it's because they're nonprofit, they have to spend this money or they get taxed or whatever. But whatever, and that's got to be tied to the government. Whatever we're doing now, it's not right, because there's a huge disparity between the big cities and the small cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Sauder, you're up next.
The Rural Health Transformation Program from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, yes, it's federal. It gives us all this money, but it goes to the rural health. It doesn't go to the Sanfords. It doesn't go to Avera. It doesn't go to Monument. It's the rural health. It's like the Horizon clinics, the one that left Bryant. We didn't have enough money. This would have helped it. This also helps with funding the regional emergency medical service hubs and to reduce response times so they can get out there faster. It goes toward equipment and technology so we can do the telemedicine. There's mothers in the middle of the state that have to drive 2 hours to have a baby. Well, I don't know about you, but sometimes babies don't wait 2 hours to be born. And so that would help those areas that either their clinics could deliver them or their hospitals will be equipped again to serve, as an example, those moms that need help like that. Again, it addresses behavioral health, but it addresses rural health. And it's a 5-year plan, and after that 5 years, those plans have to be sustainable without this money. They're not just, 5 years is up, we're not doing this anymore. That was part of the requirement. If you want to talk to Secretary Megstead, she can tell you a whole lot more about this, but that's it. They had to have this in place so when this money is up, they can keep going. So we're on the track. We're working hard. We established new liability protections for nurses on ambulance crews and modified requirements for ambulance operation. We're on the right track. We've just got to keep going with it.
All right, thank you. I think the way it's been going, we probably have one more question, and then why should I vote for you, probably? Your outro, maybe we'll call it.
Outros.
So this is another crowd question. The local control, and Steph, we'll start with you and come back. So the local control that matters most to me is the individual's control of their own life and property. Why should I vote for you?
I like that question because I am a firm believer in local control as much as possible. Whether it is the township board, the commissioners, the school boards. We had a lot of fights in Pierre this year, and I'm going to call them a fight because there are some people who said we were supposed to take care of the school board issues in certain towns. That's not my job. I was hired as a legislator, not a school board member. We have got very good school board members here, and so and across our whole state. That's where we need to keep it there. So sometimes the state has to help with that local control. I get it. It can't always be local control, but in any case possible, we need to be there, whether it's expenditures, policy making, whatever. The local control is essential for South Dakota because that's who we are. That's how we were built. We can take care of ourselves to a point and then have the help and work in tandem with the state, work in tandem with the federal. We are not islands. We are all together in this, and we have to know whose responsibility is what. But you know what? Take care. leave local control as much as possible.
Thank you. Jim Begalka?
Would you repeat that question again, please?
You bet. The local control that matters most to me is the individual's control of their own life and property. Why should I vote for you?
Thank you. In addition to what Stephanie was talking about, levels of government, your local school board is closer, your township is closer, your county is closer than the state government. What it boils down to me, though, is even more important is your family. Your parents are in control. Your mom and dad should have ultimate control over their kids, not the court system or a social worker or a school counselor, etc. I believe in the nuclear family as much as possible. There's all kinds of statistics. Majority of the people in prison didn't have a dad at home when they were growing up. Things like this. As much as possible, unless there extreme circumstances when you've got drug addiction or extreme cases of violence, we need to strengthen the family. We need to encourage the family. We need to ultimately leave most decisions up to the parents of the children, rather than somebody from the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Kohl, you're up next.
Yeah, so when I started this journey, I didn't know as much about District 4 as I maybe thought I did. But in the last couple months traveling around, I really do believe South Dakota is a state of infinite variety, right? Every community is different. Every township's different. Every county's different. Okay, there's no one way to manage this, right? So that's why local control is so important, right? Because you know your community, you know what will work in your community, and if community members step up and do the right thing or take action, they do it the most efficiently as possible. I've always thought if you want to do something inefficiently, have the federal government do it. And it's the same thing. Every time you step up in a level of government, it's going to be done a little less efficiently. I think townships are incredibly efficient. I love our counties, but we've all heard the joke of, one guy running the shovel and two guys supervising. But every time you step up in a level of government, we become a little less efficient. So yeah, local control is a South Dakota core value. The other thing is in order to effectively manage things, we keep our state lean, right? We don't have a great system to audit everything and audit every school and audit every township. So we leave the control up to them because we trust our people. We trust our local people to make the right decision. So local control is obviously a fundamental pillar in the South Dakota governmental system. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Hudiburgh.
Yeah, of course. We think about the state motto, under God, the people rule. And we also think about the concept of the full measure of freedom. When we look at property rights, like we've had some very significant discussions, some very different challenges related to property rights. And there's been a complexity to it, right? I mean, we've had these, huge projects that people want to build. They end up not being successful for the community. They end up being rejected by the community, and really looking at how we can have that local control, how we can be able to help people understand what their capabilities are. I mean, and I know we call back to education, but our republic doesn't stand if our people aren't educated. So really understanding and explaining how people can understand their personal sovereignty, how the choices they make matter, how they can be able to develop and understand, the food choices, the choices of media to consume, and how they can really build that virtuous life that makes sense, that shows the righteousness and greatness that we have in this state is what matters.
Thank you. Dylan Jordan, you're up.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of local control. That's one reason why one of my main pillars that I work on every day is to stand up for your constitutional rights. We are endowed by our Creator with certain individual rights or certain rights, not by government. They come from God. So if government stays out of the way, you have the freedom to control your own life.
Thank you. Ken Rowe?
Yeah, the local control, individuals controlling their own use of their own property, big fan of that. I think my bill record indicates that as much. Senate Bill 240, the Rural Access and Infrastructure Funds. That was funds the towns and townships with money. It gives them the money. They can spend it the way they see fit. It's expected they'll spend it on road improvements, but they have other costs. Again, SB 211, that's the rural ambulance bill that I worked on. This is funding for our important services. If you're in a car accident, I would want that person to be reimbursed for their work. Right now, they're coming up short. It's costing our rural ambulance crews, volunteers. I'll go to SB 210 as well. That's the revenue from the wind turbines. That revenue is generated locally. That's an important component of the local economy. I think that if not all of it can be brought back to those counties and school districts, at least a pretty good chunk of it should be. That's my analysis of local control. I think government should stay hands off. We saw incredible efforts on the social front to try to rip local control from your local school boards and move it to peer. And to me, that was just offensive. School boards know what's best for them. Peer, I can tell you, does not.
Thank you. Fred Deutsch, you're up.
Thanks. So I shared earlier that I spent 8 years on the Watertown School Board. And what really got me thinking and finally deciding to move from the school board to the legislature, I was just so ticked after so many times of having local control torn away from us. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, I gotta do something. And so I ran for the legislature. And what did we see this last year? The silly bill about phones. Now, I don't support phones in schools. I think they ought to be put in a box. But doggone it, it's not Pier's frickin' position to tell us as school board members what to do. It's the school board's decision. You know, who the heck does the legislature think it is that they're smarter than school board members, smarter than county commissioners? They don't know nothing. Trust me, I've been there for 8 years. So do I get a little passionate about it sometimes? Well, I guess so. I prime sponsored legislation on medical freedom having to do with the government's ability to force us to take vaccinations. It's our own bodies. We should have control, right? I mean, that's the ultimate in local control. So why vote for me? Well, if you enjoy my passion, that might be one reason. And my philosophy, my conservative beliefs, and my record and my experience over 8 years of knowing how to pass bills. I just don't introduce bills willy-nilly. I get them passed, 19 bills. Not everybody can say this. In fact, I've passed more bills than all these guys together. So that's why you vote for Fred. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think we'll go back through and we'll have you each take a couple minutes to do a wrap up and, well, ironically, probably ask everyone to vote for you again, but maybe, throw in some personal things in there. So, but thank everybody for coming out here. Appreciate that. We're still streaming online, so that's going on too. And thank all the volunteers as well for the EMS, because I know a lot of our district are volunteers. So I sincerely appreciate that because we've had to utilize you a couple times. So thank you. And Fred, we'll just start with you to keep it even, and if you'll take a couple minutes to wrap up.
2 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all for having us here. Thank you for Hamilton County Republicans for putting on a unique breakfast, unique event. You know, District 4 has sent me to Pierre 4 times, and each time I've come home with results. And as I said just a minute ago, 19 bills total. Not excuses, not press releases, not a list of bills that died in committee, but results. I'm asking you to send me back to Pierre so I can roll up my sleeves and get something done again. You know, if you're tired of Pierre looking more like Washington, D.C., then it's time for a change. And I'm offering myself as one of those options for change. You know, I'm 70 years old almost, and I've got 11 grandchildren. And I was not planning to run again. I'll be right up front with you. But I received so many calls from so many constituents in District 4 asking me, as a common sense conservative, to please throw my hat in the ring again, that after praying about it, I just felt led to do it again. So what am I trying to accomplish? I put some of these on the desk. There's more over there. These are my 4 pillars of what I want to do. I want to defend our constitutional rights. I want to keep South Dakota safe. I want to back the badge. I want to fund what law enforcement needs. I want to protect families, schools, and parental rights. And I want to have responsible growth with a strong economy. So that's what you can look forward to if you re-elect me. I have a 100% pro-life voting record. I have one of the top family value ratings in the state. And I'm just coming before you humbly asking for you to send me back so I can, again, go to work for you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the great state of South Dakota.
Thank you. That's the Republican candidate for House of Representative, Fred Deutsch. Now we've got incumbent Kent Rowe.
First up, kudos to you, Steve.
Thank you.
Everywhere we go, you're there doing the heavy lifting behind the scenes, and I, for one, am very thankful for that. I don't have 19 bills under my belt. I served 2 years. Had pretty good success this year. I had 1188, was a tow truck bill, public safety bill, pretty much guarantees if there's something on the highways, state highways, county highways, the sheriff or the highway patrol are going to be authorized to get that road open and cleaned up and back to a safe operating condition. 1189, a very obscure bill, impacted maybe five companies in the state of South Dakota, but it improved public safety immensely. Now they can transport their portable cranes the way that they're engineered to be designed, instead of having a self-manufactured trailing apparatus that carries that load. I want to talk a little bit about House Bill 1138, the bill that the governor vetoed, and we did not override his veto. That's an in-home care provider bill. Right now, we're seeing our elderly and our people who need care, in-home care, being cleaned out by people who can just fill out a job application, start their work. They can't go in, and they're getting cleaned out. I want to go back to Perry because our work is not done. I'm going to continue to fight for our families, farm families that are not taxed off the land. We need to keep South Dakota business friendly. It's a good job. Stay here and come here. That doesn't matter if you're a farmer, a truck driver, or somebody just building your life here. It also means strengthening our local public schools and standing with law enforcement so our communities stay safe. Again, I'll always work hard for you and Pierre. Early voting is open now, and the primary is June 2nd. So when you go, vote for Kent Rowe. Thank you.
Thank you. That was your Republican incumbent, Kent Rowe. Now we've got incumbent Republican House of Representative, Dylan Jordan. Go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you for always coming and publishing this. I know you'll be told that multiple times, but we appreciate it. Representative Dylan Jordan and I have been honored to be your constitutional conservative of District 4. I said this in the opening, but like I said before, it's always the same. If you want to know how I'll vote and represent you, is I'm going to look at the South Dakota Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, and the South Dakota Republican Party platform. And if it doesn't line up with those and my faith, I won't vote for it. For limited government. So we're a representative republic, so I encourage you, if that's what you're looking for, vote for me. I'm not going to run on how many new laws I'm going to make for you. For every law I bring a law to repeal another one, because you don't need more laws. So I'm not going to run on saying I'm going to pass a bunch of new rules for you. But if you want someone to defend your constitutional rights, please vote Dylan Jordan on June 2nd.
Thank you. That is your incumbent, Dylan Jordan, House of Representatives. And we've got candidate Gary Hudiburgh. If you would please do your wrap up.
Yeah, of course. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. I want to reinforce that concept of complacency. We need to go have discussions with the people in our communities that don't naturally agree with us. These values, these virtues of which we're building are important and they need to be carried forward. For this party to be successful, for the state to be successful, it's about bringing these conversations, bringing these discussions across the state, across the tables. The ideas that I have, there's a young man that I worked with through my nonprofit who just started working with the county highway department. He had one of the most difficult upbringings that we think about. We look at who can get results, who can be able to build, develop, who's worked in very difficult environments. I've worked in nuclear power plants, and I have to tell you that the complexity in a nuclear power plant is absolutely insane. Being able to turn a wrench, 1/8 of a turn is a remarkable thing. And I've been able to work there. I'm confident I'd be able to do the same thing in Pierre. Very grateful for you being here. Have a great day.
Thank you. That's Gary Hudiburgh, your candidate for House of Representatives. You also got Ryan Kohl the next candidate for House of Representatives.
So why should you vote for me? That's a great question. So I want to represent District 4. That is my ultimate goal. I'm the only farmer up here running, and just in case anybody's questioning, my definition of a farmer is if you haven't bought fertilizer by the ton in the last year, you're not a farmer. So if you want a farmer representing you, I'm your guy. Number two, I've got a heart for service. I was blessed to be able to be in the military for several years and serve our nation. And I want to continue to serve, this time at the state level. Third thing is I'm hardworking, and the reason I'm hardworking is because I'm a farmer, right? I grew up on a farm. There was nothing, no ifs, ands, or buts. You worked hard, and that was all there was to it. The third thing is I would say I'm a conservative. Now, most of you probably don't know my farming operation, but if you came out, you'd be surprised at some of the antiques that I'm still running. But I'm fiscally responsible, and I don't believe in spending more than we have. But the final reason, people have asked me, why you're running? Are you sure you want to do this? And sometimes I question it a little bit. But I've had many life experiences. I remember where I was at 9/11, which inspired me to continue my military service. I remember stepping off that aircraft onto the tarmac of Iraq, and I remember the impact that had on me. But the biggest impact of my life happened about 7 years ago when my daughter was born, because it changed everything. I wasn't living a life of adventure for me anymore. I realized that I want to leave my daughter with something more than I had. So I'm going to work to make sure that my children have a future and a great future here in South Dakota, and that will inspire me to work hard for District 4 every day. Thank you.
Thank you. So those are your 5 candidates for the House of Representatives for 2 seats. Then we've got 1 seat available with 2 candidates, and we'll start with Tim Begalka.
Thank you, sir. Since I left the Senate in 2014, I have literally been asked countless times, probably in the hundreds now, when are you going to run again? When are you going to go back to Pierre? Are you going to run again? We want you to run again. We want you back in Pierre. When are you going to run again? It's been rather humbling. And then the questions increased in the last year or two. When are you going to run again? We want to run again. Oh, I wish you'd run again. Well, so that's why I'm here, because I am running again. There's hundreds of bills every year in Pierre. And every single day you have to make a decision, yes or no, 20, 30, 40, 50 times on bills, on amendments, on motions, quick decisions. And it's just as important to vote no against bad bills as it is to vote yes on good bills. And that's one of the things I take pride in, helping stop some of the bad, what I consider bad bills in Pierre. I'm a conservative. I mean, I have a track record. You can look up my voting record. I'm proud of it. Whether it's a social issue, a fiscal issue, whatever. I mean what I say what I mean. You can trust me, you can believe me, you can count on me. if you send me an email, I'm going to read it and most likely respond to it, unless it's some mass email that 43,000 other people sent me across the state. I don't have any small signs. I think everybody else does. But if you want a big one, I got a 4x4s in my car. If you're so inclined, I've got a few bigger 4x4 red, white, and blue Begalka for Senate signs in my car. I'll be glad to give you one. So thank you much. Great to be in Hamilton County. You have a pretty good turnout here, but it seems like about half the people have trickled out in the last hour, but that's okay. Other things going on. So thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you. That's Jim Begalka, your Senate candidate. We've got incumbent Stephanie Sauder.
Thank you. And again, kudos to you. I will echo what everybody else says. Thank you for being here and what you do for our community as well. For the past 4 years, I've been in Pierre, and nope, I haven't brought a lot of bills, but my bills, I believe in quality instead of quantity. If I bring a bill, both of them have been about, my prime ones have been regarding education. We've got to take care of our children, and both of them passed. I've helped sponsor other bills that are important to our district for constituents, our people here. When I vote on a bill, it's not a quick decision. I look at that bill. I look at that bill from all the way around. Who is it going to affect? Who is it? Good things, bad things. So I don't make quick decisions in Pierre. I think about that. It isn't just a quick yes or no. You know what? Oh, I voted no last time. I'll vote yes. That's not the way I vote. That is not the way I vote. I'm here and I'm running for Pierre again because I've got an ag background. I've got an education background. I've got a small business background. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmother. I'm a wife. I live here. I live your life. And I'm willing to represent your life out in Pierre. It doesn't go past me that we are in a 4-H building where the motto is to make the best better. That's how I look at working in Pierre. We live in the best state in the country. And I'm working to make the best better by going in there. And I'm humbled to be there now, and I will be continually be humbled to be your senator the next 2 years. Thank you for voting for me, and thank you for being here.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Those are your candidates for the House of Representatives and the Senate. I think it's important that you hold them to the fire, but you also appreciate everything that they do, because it can be challenging and complex to be in those positions and run for the position. So thank them for what they do as well. And there's other questions, so I don't know if they'll stick around. If they are, you can ask them. But thank you guys for doing this, and thank you, Barbara, for asking me to do it, and Hamilton County Republican Committee. So thank you guys. That's it. We wrapped up.
Thanks.
What's our next one? A good one?
Yeah, I think it's a good one.
You get a little break.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of like, how many days, like, you know what I fucked up with the I was sitting there after Clark, and I'm like, no disrespect to all of them, like, you can wrap it up, and I can go back on this. But I like it when people come, so I'm not saying not to be there. I wish the timing, like it was, we had a couple more hours a day. Well, yeah.
Well, see you next time.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, you too. See you.